Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Tuesday evening to you all. I hope you guys are doing well out there and, more importantly, staying safe. Got you a big update on what's going to happen going forward, what potentially could happen severe weather-wise over the next several hours into the overnight hours, and then into tomorrow. We're going to give you a big update about what potentially can unfold for our Wednesday, as our severe weather risk has certainly increased. In fact, I think tomorrow has a chance to be more of an impactful scenario just because it's more highly populated areas under the gun for tomorrow. We may or may not get upgraded to a moderate risk, which we have two areas of a moderate risk right now throughout the overnight hours, but it could be more impactful for tomorrow. But we're going to break it all down, try to figure it out for you folks. I know a lot of people are going live right now, and a lot of people are tuning into those folks, and rightfully so, especially if your area is under the gun. And maybe, here in the future, sometime on down the road, I'll be able to do that with you guys. I certainly would enjoy doing that. But I can tell you, one of the biggest goals of mine is to do what I do here, keep you guys ahead of the storm, which has always been the main goal here, and one day make storm chasing more of a thing with this channel. Of course, most of you folks know I already storm chase a little bit, but certainly not even close to what you would consider a full-time chaser. But one of these days, I'll be able to do weather in general full-time. That is a goal of mine, and I look forward to that. And I just want to say thank y'all for everybody who subscribed to my channel. I think I've picked up 3,000 subscribers over the last week, so that's incredible. So really thank y'all. Thank y'all for the incredible supporting me. 99% of the comments have been nice. I was just, I guess, in my feelings yesterday morning when I got a couple, rude ones, but that's going to happen with growth. But I appreciate everybody being encouraging, all the support, all the nice comments. It means the world. It makes me smile when I read it every morning, every evening. So thank y'all for that. But let's talk about weather. So if you folks have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. And more importantly, if you guys got anything that I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put it in the comments below so I can do that, and I promise you others will do so too. Let's get rolling this evening. So a different look here. We got, the actual satellite and the true view of Tropical Tidbits. It's beautiful. It really shows what's going on here. The sun is still up for everybody. And what you got is, if you look right into here, where this kind of cloudy air mass is rising north, that is our warm front. That is actually rising, and it's pretty much stopped at this point. But this warm front was working its way through Missouri into southern Iowa all day. And now you have a triple point right into here. And if you see this little area right here that kind of goes right in that area, that is our cold front about to make our way through. This cold front extends all the way down here. And then this cold front will help to initiate storms down here a little bit later tonight, okay? But you already have gigantic storms, huge storms popping off right now in northern Missouri and Iowa. But as of right now, as of it's technically 5:16 in Central Time, there's no tornado warnings. And that is just because a lot of these storms are not surface-based. They're very elevated in nature. But we'll look at the radar going on right now. Davenport right into here, Cedar Rapids, right outside of Quincy. Quincy's sitting between two pretty strong storms, but for right now, just severe storms. But by the time some of you folks watch this, by the time maybe I'm at the end of making this video, this will be a totally different scenario. But it's pretty much unfolding the way we thought it was. Storms developing right into here. You even got that line of storms beginning to try to get going here. The atmosphere is prime right into here, but does anything get going? We'll certainly see here in the next hour or two. Storm Prediction Center, 2 moderate risk ups. This really has not changed. Moderate risk up here and down here. We're really going to focus on the southern mode in this system just because this is now evolving right now. It's pretty much just now casting. There's no point looking at short range model guidance at all. Really, even for the southern mode, it's all about what we call surface observations. What does it feel like? What are the environmental players on the field right now? Sometimes looking at these short-range models is done just a little bit too much. Even, I do that sometimes. But there's still guidance. But at this point, when we're the day of the event, it's important to look at real-time observations. So we look at this southern mode. And, like I said, still that 15% risk of a strong 15% risk of a tornado and a 10% risk of a strong tornado in this area. So watch out over the next few hours in Iowa. But let's talk about the southern mode because I think it's important to let you folks know what's going on in Arkansas, southern Missouri, surrounding regions. A moderate risk is still up. Okay, this is going to be what we call a conditional threat, meaning you're not necessarily guaranteed an outbreak or severe storms. You guys might go to sleep, 9, 10 o'clock, wake up tomorrow morning in areas of Arkansas, 7, 8 a.m., and then you're waking up to no news of any bad weather. That is a possibility, but there's also a possibility that you wake up during the middle of the night to tornado warnings. Okay, so I just want to let you guys know that nothing was supposed to happen as of right now. Okay, moderate risk up for this area right here, and I don't have my phone up today, and I do apologize. You know what? I'll pull my phone up right now. It's all right. We're just going to wing it in the middle of the video. Guys, we'd like to just keep it real. I don't do much editing in my videos anyways. So, I'm going to pull up my phone here on the fly so we can talk about and mention some cities. All right. So, Little Rock, you are in the enhanced risk, not technically the moderate risk. The moderate risk, Russellville. You might as well say Fort Smith. Up here in Harrison. Berryville, Huntsville, and all the higher elevations right in this region are under a moderate risk. Not necessarily really higher elevations, but some of these mountainous regions right in here. Excuse me, guys. I just didn't want to cough, so drink some water there. Areas like Branson, Missouri, have that moderate risk. Areas like Omaha, Arkansas. Okay, which is weird. I'm used to saying Omaha, Nebraska. Ozark, Boonville, Waldron, down here to Mena, DeQueen. All you folks have a moderate risk of severe thunderstorms for tonight. Okay, tornado risk, and sorry for all the pauses, guys. My little girl started screaming, and honestly, I had to cough. I just had to get it out. So, we keep going. This is the 15% risk tonight. This is all for tonight, I'm telling you. Nocturnal threat. 15% risk of a tornado within 25 miles in any given location. And then in the yellow, that is a 10% risk of a tornado with the same criteria within 25 miles in any given location. The black outlined area, that is a 10% risk on its own of a strong tornado, EF2 or larger or higher in this region. Okay? Hail threat, it's going to be high down here too, but you don't have as big of a hail threat, but you do have a hatch region. The yellow that you see here, that is a 15% risk of 1 inch in diameter or larger hail. The hatch risk, that is at least a 10% risk of 2 inch diameter or larger hail. Any kind of supercells that get going in this region tonight could produce large hail, especially along that dry air with dry air punching aloft. 30% risk of damaging winds. Okay, not a hatch region, just a 30% risk of damaging winds of 50 knots or higher, 55 to 60 miles per hour in this region. You can have some severe storms later, way late tonight, even up here in St. Louis. Okay, Poplar Bluff, into like the morning hours for tomorrow morning, for your Wednesday morning. So nasty weather expected here tonight. So I want to let you guys know, and I'll update this. It's very humid in Arkansas. It feels like severe weather's coming this evening into overnight tonight. Dew points into the 60s, into Tulsa, eastern Oklahoma, the entire state of Missouri and Arkansas and everybody else to the south. Dew points in the 60s to upper 60s. It feels like summertime out here, with temperatures also in the upper 70s to well into the 80s. So it certainly feels like some nasty weather is coming tonight. The stage is set. It's just, are you going to get any storms that really fire up? So we start this off around 7 p.m. Central Time. Not a whole lot going on immediately. You see a little cell popping up here just north of the Red River, well south of Oklahoma City. This run of the HRRR model has this cell making a long track across southern sections of Oklahoma. We're getting into about 11 p.m. at this point. A little bit of scattered convection developing in northern Missouri. Some storms, potentially getting going in kind of south central Missouri. Look at these lines of storms here in eastern Kansas. Got to watch out here too. I haven't mentioned Kansas a lot, but certainly if the Parsons, the Independence, the Fort Scott, the Garnet, even Burlington, Kansas, please watch out for any storms that really quickly fire up along what we call the dry line or a cold front that's moving in. This continues, and look at this cell just continuing the truck around midnight. This would be, if the model nails it, which we don't, I wouldn't bet on it absolutely nailing a storm, but kind of right around near Whitesboro, Red Oak, Worcester, watch out for maybe a sail sometime, a thunderstorm, a severe storm, maybe a tornado-producing storm in and around the midnight area. And then we watch what happens as we get just after midnight, this is when we're expecting for things to go downhill for areas of western Arkansas. What kind of storm development do we get? Right here in kind of northern sections near Fayetteville, you got a cell showing up around 2 a.m., but is it going to be more widespread? Is it going to be one cell? Is there going to be any? But what we do know is a line of storms is going to develop into the wee hours of the morning in eastern Oklahoma and northeast Texas. This might even extend all the way into the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So this is for around 4 a.m. We got some strong to severe thunderstorms down here in the wee hours of the morning. I mean, this is late tonight, basically into tomorrow morning. We could have some embedded tornadoes in this line of storms, even getting into, western areas of Arkansas as we're waking up tomorrow morning. If you wake up around 6, 7 a.m., some nasty weather expected in southern sections of Missouri and then western Arkansas. If I do say eastern Arkansas, I do apologize. Sometimes I get my directional mixed up here. But, you look at this and you say, Mitch, this does not really look that bad. And I would say, yes, based off this model, it really doesn't. And that's why the Storm Prediction Center says, hey, this is conditional. But what we do know, if we look at the updraft velocity swath, and we're going to do some of this stuff on the fly here. If we look at the updraft velocity swath, it does pick up on some spinners, some spinning updrafts, some maybe embedded rotation in this line of storms all throughout Arkansas, even northeast Texas. Remember, I was talking about that lone cell right here in southern and southeast Oklahoma that's trying to pick up on a rotating updraft right into here. And then look into this area as we're getting into tomorrow, but we'll talk about that here in a second. So the big thing is this is a conditional threat. So if you read down here in the Storm Prediction Center, and I do apologize, let me go back to here. We go back to here, you read all the way down the Arklatex into southern Missouri and Illinois tonight. Okay, immediately you say a broad area of high conditional risk of tornadic supercells will develop in eastern Oklahoma into much of Arkansas and southern Missouri. All right, so another thing I want you to notice here, again, model guidance provides confidence in the risk of widely scattered supercells throughout the night across the area. Although details of location and timing are uncertain, strong or even violent tornadoes are possible in this scenario. So, and it's speaking on Missouri and Arkansas. So it's very conditional, meaning that there might not be a whole lot that goes on. But if anything does go on, even if it's one or two cells, they can become violent and a very, very, very strong. So we keep on moving and we get into the threat for tomorrow. All right, there is a pretty big enhanced risk of severe thunderstorms that extend an enhanced risk of severe thunderstorms that is from northeast Arkansas all the way into the Great Lakes region. This includes all of Indiana, a good portion of Ohio, the entire western half of Kentucky, the entire western half of Tennessee, the entire eastern half of Illinois, and then the boot heel of Missouri. So if we zone into these areas, and we'll talk about the southern risk, this does include places like Nashville, Memphis, Jonesboro, Arkansas. This is really, I would say this is starting really tomorrow morning as the energy that's moving out of Arkansas will move into this area. But Jackson, Dyersburg, Clarksville, Tennessee, up here to Evansville, Indiana, Elizabethtown, Kentucky, Louisville, all the way up to Cincinnati, Indianapolis. There's a lot of highly populated areas. Carbondale, Mount Vernon, I would say a lot of these areas are for earlier in the morning. But Chicago, Columbus, Dayton, Cleveland, Detroit, Toledo, a lot of people under the gun. And if you look at the tornado risk, it's really up here in the northern areas. I'm going to talk about you folks in Michigan too, so hold tight here. But Indianapolis, not only do you have a 10% risk of a tornado, you have a 10% risk of a significant tornado. EF2 or higher within 25 miles in any given location. This does include places like Champaign, Lafayette, up here to Gary, South Bend, Kalamazoo, Jackson, Lansing, Michigan. 10% risk of a tornado in Cleveland. 5% risk for these other areas like Dayton to Cincinnati to Lexington, Kentucky to Louisville, Nashville. 5% risk. And yeah, so down here, I would say there's going to be a big time wind threat. So there's a 30% risk of winds pushing 50 knots or higher all the way down to Memphis into northeast Arkansas. That's 55 to 60 miles per hour. And that includes all them other cities I just mentioned too also. Hail threat tomorrow, there is a 30% risk of hail pushing 1 inch diameter or larger, but there's also a 10% risk of larger hail of 2 inch diameter and or higher. I've been mixing my words up a lot this video. It really just tells you I'm just tired, guys. I'm not going to lie. I'm pretty wore out. So I do apologize if this is not coming out near as crisp as yesterday evening's or this morning's video. It just happens. I'm probably going to take a day or two probably after this severe weather event, because this has been one of the most it's been good seeing the growth, and of course I love talking weather, but man, when you got such a huge area that's at risk, whether it's a winter storm, severe weather, I take pride in trying to zoom in on each individual region. But the more regions there are, obviously, the longer the videos go. So sorry about mixing my words up, guys. But the northern half of Indiana has a 10% hatched risk of hail pushing 2 inch diameter or larger. This does include Chicago. Okay. We go up here a little bit north, and I do apologize. In fact, I really wanted to include more of Michigan, but pivotal weather does not have a great region area for Michigan. So I will tell you, Michigan has the enhanced risk, and I would argue areas of Michigan could be under the gun for the highest threat level for severe weather. But, this entire area of Michigan, it's going all the way up. I would say this expands all the way up into, Grayling, Mount Pleasant, 10% risk of a tornado and a 10% risk of a stronger tornado, a hatched risk. Grand Rapids, this includes you guys, Lansing, East Lansing, Detroit, Jackson, Ann Arbor, Kalamazoo, Holland. This includes everybody. Basically, almost the entire southern half of Michigan has not only a 10% risk of a tornado, but a 10% risk of a significant tornado. The wind threat will be there for the same areas. 30% risk of winds pushing 55 or 60 miles per hour within 25 miles of any given location. There's a pretty significant hail threat in these regions tomorrow also. So let's break this down. Get my last little sip of water here, and we'll finish this video up. So we'll talk about Kentucky and Tennessee first, the southern mode of this. And we'll start this off around 8 a.m. Central Time. Not a whole lot going on, but as you get all the energy that moves out of Arkansas and Missouri, I can already tell this is around 11 a.m. Look at these storms ongoing in Illinois. And we'll talk about Illinois here in a second. Let's focus on Kentucky and Tennessee really quick. Storms begin to enter western Kentucky, western Tennessee, Dyersburg, Mayfield, Paducah area. How intense will they be? Not quite sure, but more storms will develop. And then these can be quite intense. Now, you're lacking a little bit of a low-level flow down here, so you might not have the best tornado threat down here, which is good. Best meaning a higher-end tornado threat. So I'm not seeing a significant tornado threat down here, but there is a risk. And there's definitely some supercell activity going on tomorrow afternoon in western Tennessee, the Boot Heel of Missouri, and then western Kentucky, even this supercell right here in southern Illinois. But you keep this going here, and then I really think there's going to be a pretty intense cluster of thunderstorms that's going to ride the Kentucky, Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky border here, even Illinois and Kentucky. These storms will head up and affect areas like Louisville. Damaging winds, large hail to threat around 5 p.m. You still got storms ongoing in western Tennessee down here, okay? So Jackson, Tennessee, even some more storms firing up around late afternoon, early evening, around dinner time. You continue to get these storms to march through. They start to blast through Dayton, Ohio, Cincinnati. These could be producing damaging winds, maybe even isolated tornado threat. And what I really want to watch down here is if an intense line of storms start to work their way through areas of northern Mississippi, maybe even to northern Alabama, and then sweep through most of the state, at least the western half of the state of Tennessee and Kentucky. These continue to sweep through the entire area. Damaging winds associated with this, maybe a low-end tornado threat, isolated pockets of hail. At this point, we're around 11 p.m. tomorrow night, and this line of storms is working its way through the entire state of Kentucky and Tennessee as we make our way on through. But if you look at the updraft helicity swath with this, I mean, hey, it's a concerning look based off the latest long-range HRRR model. You're seeing a lot of cells based off the HRRR model that really want to rotate. Even this one lone cell here in the Boot Heel of Missouri moves into western Kentucky, and about basically the entire western half of Tennessee has a look of rotating thunderstorms. So it's something we need to watch out for. Maybe the southern mode overperforms as far as a higher tornado risk, but don't let your guard down here just because you don't have that 10% risk of a tornado. There is a risk for a tornado down here too. So we'll see if this gets extended further south and then southwest. And then you see the swaths going through areas of Kentucky also. So moving into Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio. As we're moving forward here, excuse me, guys, we got a threat that's emerging around 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. So you got this line of storms. It's basically the leftover energy from what happens to this evening into the overnight hours into tomorrow morning. So there could be a pretty, intense line of storms making its way through western areas of Illinois, Peoria, Springfield, Bloomington, Rockford, all the way into Chicago. I mean, this could be knocking on the door of Chicago around 7, 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. And then this clears through. Could bring some stormy conditions in areas of the southern half of Michigan. But this is not the main story for Michigan. So, don't let your guard down just because, you're thinking that these morning storms are the severe weather threat. But then, as this low pressure slows down and the atmosphere, the favorable ingredients really slows down and just kind of parks their self in this region for a while, you have more thunderstorm development sometime mid to late morning tomorrow in Illinois. And basically the entire state of Illinois could get some more severe weather. And we got to watch out all the way up into Chicago. Okay, we're getting into around lunchtime. Some nasty storms beginning to work their way closer to Chicago at this point. So at this point, it's around, noon, lunchtime, and a cluster of storms right here in far northwest Indiana. The South Bend area, Lafayette, watch out, Gary, and all the small Rochester, Plymouth, all the small communities here in northwest Indiana need to watch out for some storms early in the afternoon. But you still got storms forming back here in Illinois, central Illinois. And you continue, and it looks like for the most part, this tries to wrap up for Illinois. I think you might have a couple more storms early in the afternoon that forms in the eastern portions of the state. But then, and then we work our way into about 1, 2 p.m. and these storms will start to refire back up in southern Michigan. So, early tomorrow afternoon, Niles, Coldwater, Battle Creek, Kalamazoo, Jackson, some storms might enter the area early tomorrow afternoon, and they will have a chance to be rotating. The environment in Michigan will be supportive for severe weather. It's just, are you going to get enough destabilization to the atmosphere in Michigan tomorrow with all the morning convection? But, check it out here. You're starting to get into the afternoon. You have some isolated supercells, here in Indiana. Very isolated. One right down here, kind of riding the Indiana-Kentucky border. You got a cell right here that looks kind of weaker here in western Ohio. Watch this cell right into here in Michigan and southeast Michigan, southwest Michigan around 3 or 4 p.m. And there's some isolated semi-discrete supercells making their way really close to the Indianapolis area. So, you stop it here around 4 p.m. Bloomington, Indianapolis, Columbus, Kokomo, Lafayette. Anybody in this region could be at risk for a supercell tomorrow. This could produce a tornado. The environment will be favorable for all hazards. Okay, we just discussed that. We continue to work our way a little bit further east. And I keep having to pause the video, guys. Just I keep coughing. and just don't want to cough in the video. So if there's a lot of breaks while trying to break this down a little bit more than normal, that's why. Or sometimes when I pause the video, that's when YouTube puts an ad in. So I do apologize for that. But around 6 p.m., pretty active still in southern and southeast areas of Indiana. But then these storms kind of begin to develop later in the afternoon, early evening, in some of those same areas in southern sections of Michigan that I just mentioned. But you're working your way. This is getting close to Lansing, Flint, Ann Arbor, Detroit. I think this will more so be a threat later in the afternoon, early evening. But then, these storms begin to enter Ohio. They could be quite intense when they enter western Ohio. So please watch out in Ohio if you're, like even Fort Wayne, Indiana. This will hit you guys. Lima, Findlay, I think that's Findlay, Dayton, up to Toledo, and all the communities right in here. These storms, there could be a semi-discrete mode to these, meaning discrete supercells. Supercells are rotating thunderstorms, so these could be producing some dangerous storms. These continue to work their way into Ohio into the late evening hours. I think Ohio will have its worst risk sometime really late tomorrow afternoon, really into the evening times, right around when the sun's setting. Some storms could work their way into the Cleveland area, Columbus, even getting into southeast section of Ohio, but I really think they'll begin to lose some steam at this point. So if you look at the updraft helicity swaths here, it looks pretty intense. You got a couple streamers right into here into Indiana, some big time rotating updrafts right into this region, and then Michigan certainly looks more highly elevated. Watch out in the southern half of Michigan. You'll have a tornado risk starting early tomorrow afternoon into the right around sunset. Okay, to start trying to pick up on anywhere where you see colors, greens, yellows, especially once you get in the reds, that's the higher chance. That's where it's trying to signify a rotating updraft into this region. So please be aware tomorrow. A little bit better look at Michigan here. We're getting into tomorrow afternoon. And at this point, these cells, and I had most of the northern half of Michigan cut off, but it's time to mention northern Michigan also. But, you're going to have a round of storms that kind of rolls through after lunchtime tomorrow for central and northern Michigan. These kind of blast through the state, but it's really after these storms move through. You see this cell right here? This is right on top of you folks, like in West Branch. What is that? Gladwin. Rose City, places like that. I'm not going to be able to nail each town, but this little area of storms in Michigan around 3, 4, 5 p.m. tomorrow in this region, these could be dangerous right in here. They will really get going in the eastern part of the state and sweep across most of the state. They don't look that intense when you look at them here, but these will have a chance to produce a tornado in Michigan tomorrow. So please, don't let your guard down tomorrow after these first rounds of storms move through. This will continue to work its way through into the evening. And then, I think areas of Canada will have a threat. Okay. If I go and look, I told somebody I would mention Canada here. But this section of Canada right into here, you guys need to watch out. I don't know all the communities and towns and things like that. But if you're in Canada tomorrow, I would watch out for 2 rounds of storm. One can really produce damaging winds, and then there's going to be some supercells that form behind it. So watch out in this region also. We get into the northeast tomorrow. Start off around morning time, and there could be some snow in Maine. Mixed precipitation in Maine, even Vermont and New Hampshire. These storms move through, maybe a rumble of thunder, but then we watch out Buffalo around dinner time tomorrow. Could be a nasty line of storms that could produce damaging winds, maybe even an embedded tornado threat that makes its way into western areas of New York State. Even watch out for some storm activity around Binghamton, the Finger Lakes. But this line of storms could be quite intense over Lake Ontario tomorrow. We could have a pretty intense line of storms. So make its way into Watertown, Syracuse, try to hold together and make it all the way into the mountains of New York, and then even the valleys. But I think it'll weaken substantially as it enters more cold, stable air. And then I'm telling you, Canada's at risk for some nasty storms tomorrow. So please watch out in this section of Canada. And then we're getting into tomorrow night. Maybe some additional thunderstorms into the overnight hours into tomorrow night, but not a big deal. at all. But please watch out for damaging winds in New York State. That's all I got, guys. That was a struggle to make it through, and I apologize. Even though people say don't apologize, it's life. People cough, but I felt fine when I started the video. But I think it's my body telling me, okay, that is enough for talking for 30 to 50 minutes straight, 2 times a day. So after this is over, I'm probably going to take a little break, for a day or so, let my voice rest. And yeah, that's all I got, guys. Please stay safe tonight with this severe weather event. God bless.